There is such a thing as being comfortable on camera, and I am not comfortable on camera, but we will give this a go. This is a sketchbook tool. This sketchbook is from 2020 to 2021, June to January, so it took me about 6 months. I got the sticker from Redbubble. Let's rock and roll. Squirrels, because my sister wanted me to draw her husband, my brother-in-law, a card, and he likes squirrels, and my friend, drawn down here, the little feet in the water, which is a fun little guy. And some badges, because I'm in an animal mood. I think every sketchbook that I do, I want to try and focus on something. And in this one, I was like, oh, I'm going to do so many animals, and I did barely any animals. But we have some animals, so that's pretty cool. And some little thumbnails for some guys in a story that I don't write anymore, but I gave it a go, and some orchids, because I used to have orchids, and I don't anymore as well. Giraffe. I like the giraffe. This is Andy. I don't like him, just in general, at all. A little chick. I wrote a little note about how Keaton's arms, his name is Keaton, his arms were just too long compared to how long his legs were. I think I originally drew his legs longer and then shortened them but didn't shorten the arms, and it was an issue. But we learn from mistakes, you know? That's the vibe. I drew some dragons for a while. I think I just read Heroes of Olympus again, and so I was drawing the dragon from there quite a bit, which is fun. I did the sketchbook so many years ago, I don't remember a lot of what was going on, but we're having fun here, baby. Like I was saying, Heroes of Olympus, various little bits. I really like this. I think that was really good for the time that I drew it in. And I got some lino. I made some stamps. I like this little guy. He's like a little crow, but he's like Celtic designs. He's got stuff. It looks nice. I also weirdly like this one. I think the eyes are too big, but it's sad eyes practice. It's fun. I like it. I drew some cats. I guess I did more animals than I thought I did in the sketchbook, at least early on. So that's cool. I was into Gravity Falls for a bit. Maybe I was rewatching it. Maybe I was just like, oh, that's a cool vibe. So I drew the little eyes on the counter from that. And the background of like the waterfalls and such. There's Andy again. We don't like Andy. I have like this really old cassette player that I found at a car boot sale a long time ago, and I thought that would be quite fun to draw. So I drew that. And some bats. This is Ant from the story that I wrote around the time that I was, just before I did the sketchbook. I wrote that story and I liked it. I found a little Eurasian jade feather and I stuck it in here. That was my prized possession for a long time. Woo! This is when I started to get work experience with the company that I worked with for like 2 years. They wanted me to block out various scenes for animation that they were doing, and I did that for a bit, but I didn't really get much direction from the company, so I didn't do an awful lot, but it's cool that I did something. And I like these flowers. I think they look very nice with the splashed effect. I remember being at my family's allotment when I drew this, and I'd left the hose running to refill some water butts that we had, and then I just forgot to turn it off, and some people came to the allotment to be like, can you turn the water off? And I was like, oh god, I'm so sorry, I forgot to turn the water off. And I felt very embarrassed at the time. I don't know why I still remember that, but hey ho. Page of pigeons, but it's mostly cats, and then some pigeons underneath. I think they look kind of fun. I like this guy. He's kind of the start of how I stylize birds these days, with the wings and the face. I'm going to skip over these quickly, but it's basically a storyboard for Mumford & Sons, The Cave for The Death of the Silver Tongue, which is a story that I wrote 2019 kind of time. I like this panel. I think that one looks good. That's how I wanted it to look. But it's a lot of that. I'm not very happy with it. I never did anything with this, but that's okay. Woo. And then this was just after I'd been to like a work placement day with the company that I worked for a while ago, and the animator there told me that I should draw more things from real life, just really sketchy and quickly and such. And so I drew a church on the walk back, and I think it looked pretty cool. I still think it looks okay. You know, we learn things from as we get older. But this was four years ago that I did the sketchbook, so I've definitely learned quite a bit from that time. Yippee! This was some weird advice that I found online that suggested you should balance a person by where their nose is. So with the nose here, the point of their weight should be at this foot. And so I was trying to figure out exactly how that worked with a lot of things, because it didn't work overall. It was also just kind of like the line of action and seeing how I could play around with that. As you can see here, I was kind of like, that doesn't really work, because the weight would be on this foot, but where the nose is, it should be on this foot, and so it wasn't quite right. I like this one. This is also the start, I think, of when I started writing little quotes in the corner of each of my pages. I kept this up for the rest of the sketchbook, and I keep meaning to do it with my next sketchbooks, but I never do. This is Mika and Lynn from Story with Keaton in it. I never actually finished writing that. Might not happen. There's an airplane going overhead. I hope that doesn't come up in the film, because I don't want to start filming this again. This was 3-color challenge I did with my friend, Hajar. Hers was very cool. She did a little sketchbook and she shows me every time that she comes over, which is nice. It's based on a picture that I will try and put like somewhere of someone at a vending machine. I thought it was cool. There's Keaton again. I think I was trying to design a thing for I was doing NaNoWriMo that was coming up. I remember when that was a fun thing to do. And I wanted to do something interesting for the cover of my new NaNoWriMo sketch notebook that I was going to write stuff in. And so I was trying to figure out a cool design. This is close to what I ended up doing, I think. There's Andy again. We hate him. Cool raven that I don't actually remember who gave me that. I think maybe my grandparents gave me a card with the little guy on it, but I think it's really cool. Saw it again recently. I was like, what? It's so cool. That's me figuring out kind of line of action stuff. So this was kind of a boring stiff pose, and then I kept stretching it further and further until it was more of a punch. And this is Ant, just vibing. And the cover to Aim and Ignite by Fun, which is a very, very good album, and I like the colours. Wahoo, yippee. This is the only picture of Simon that I have. He's the villain in Death of Silver Tongue. I don't draw him very much, but I like this drawing of him and literally no others. My hand, I like drawing my hand. I think it's fun to draw a hand. This was a thumbnail from the previous page. Where is it? There it is. Thumbnail, final product. This is when I had very cheap, £3 watercolours, but I had some fun with it. I think it's good to get some cheaper supplies and then work up to realising, oh, I do enjoy this medium, I want to do more of this, rather than buying something expensive and then having this expensive thing you don't actually like using at all, which is a shame. This is a good rat. That's my kitchen, just here. Mum was making some kind of extract or juice out of some berries that we had, and I thought that it looked nicely arranged, and so I took a picture. That's some of the berry juice spilled to my sketchbook page, and I made a little creature out of it because I like doing that. And that's Leon, and that's Ant, and they're both from Death of the Silver Tongue. Mika, Paige. I think around this time I was getting really into other people's sketchbook tours, and they always did pages of different characters. And I was like, oh, that looks so cool, and I love how it's arranged. And I do like how it's arranged, all the different fashion, but I hated doing it, and so I never did it again. But it was kind of fun. And then when I was in Berlin for a film festival with my college, I bought this postcard, and so I thought I'd draw it again, which was very fun. It's a funny little guy. Yeah. That's important. This bit's important. This is Atlas. They are one of the main characters in a story that I've written called The Spider Song, and this is the start of me taking them from their original story, which is called Sonder, and twisting it into a more fantasy kind of flavour. So that's quite exciting. That was 2020-ish time that I was doing that, and I wrote it the next year, and I'm still trying to write the sequel to it, but big fan of Atlas. They've been around for 8 years, I think, which is a hot minute. And we love to see it. We happy? We're happy. I went to a meetup with my friends at the time, during COVID, and we all sat. It was kind of when lockdown had been lifted for a bit, but we were still quite cautious, and so we went to an outside area, but we all sat together and I drew everyone, which was quite cool. I think this fella, I don't talk to him anymore, but I think he came out how he looked, which was quite nice. And this guy I can recognise definitely. I labelled everyone. But these two are the only people that I look at and go, oh yeah, they look how they should. This is Abby. I like how she looks. She's from the same story as Keaton. She's kind of the bad guy. But I did some nice blending with the colour. Yeah, I think it looks cool. Some deer. I guess I did more animals, like I said, than I thought. I like this one. If I colour it in, it means I like it. Well, hey, woohoo. There's that art technique of like, oh, you draw spirals, you can then do foreshortening really well. Whoa! So I tried that out and I absolutely hated it. I need to work on perspective some more, but we gave it a go around this time. And there's Keaton with some birds. I drew the same kind of style of image of, you know, someone covered in birds, but for crows for someone else in a later sketchbook, which maybe you'll see one day. It's also interesting, I've learned to draw feet really well. I said really well, I still draw them to the side like that, but like facing forward I can do foreshortening with feet, which is a weird thing to say, but it's nice to see that I've learned, I've improved, you know? You see some things, you go, sometimes I don't improve. This is a little comic, this is Lynn. She's like, oh, I've never seen a monster, monsters don't exist. And Mika's like, oh, I've never seen a frog. And she's like, oh, frogs don't exist. And Keaton's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Good for him. There's Mika. I think I copied that from someone on Instagram. I can't remember who, the pose, but it turned out really well. I used a fancy brush pen. I say fancy, it was like £2. I used a brush pen to get different thickness of lines and I absolutely loved how it looked, but then I never tried again successfully and I'd like to learn how one day. Found a song called Ninja Archer and I want to draw a character from Ninja Archer, so they're a Ninja Archer slinking around. Perspective practice, which I never did much with. And I went to my local like river area and drew what I saw there and it turned out really bad, but you know, it's all practice and we're happy to practice. I don't like it personally, but I don't know, it's a thing, a little rant when I see other people's sketchbook tours and they're always like, oh, I absolutely hate how this looks, when I've looked at it and gone, oh, it's pretty cool. I always feel a bit dejected, so I don't like this personally because I've improved since drawing it, because it was 4 years ago, but I appreciate the effort that I put in at the time to mean that I can build up to my current skills now. So we don't hate anything that we make. You can enjoy that as well. Woohoo! I went to a marsh with my friend and we saw a swan and I drew it, and then he kind of like did that because swans can't just take off from being static, they have to do a run up to be able to fly, and so he was like running on the water to fly off somewhere and it was very funny. I was like, oh, he's Jesus then! And some fellas, it's Vincent, being shocked that we like Vincent. Had a bad time with art block for a while, and then whoa, it's Spider Song art official #1. That's Andy. We don't like Andy, but we do like Andy, but not massively. We do like Andy. Atlas has the wrong colour shoes, but this is an important drawing to me in my heart because it's like, oh, I'm actually properly thinking about this idea. Maybe I'll even write it one day. A little sketch of some kites and kind of bad end ideas, and it was kind of boring because Anne has this ability to get people to do what they want by telling them, and in the story they're very anxious and restrictive of what they say. They're selectively mute, and so they learn sign language and they talk that way and such, but in the bad end they just decide to use their ability when they wanted to, but it's just kind of boring of a drawing. It doesn't really demonstrate that. Whereas Keaton's super fun. Whoa, look at that, there's stuff flying around, that's crazy. He dies and then gets brought back to life and he has like a fragment of the universe inside him, and the idea in the bad end is kind of like he exploits this universe to just have super telekinesis basically. I think the drawing is kind of fun. You also have Abby saying need a hand and Percival's screaming because he doesn't, that's his hand, but that's a bit mean, you know. Undertale, little Undertale sketch. I like it. I like the kind of black and white and the little bits of yellow. I think that's quite nice. And Percival working at a little charity shop. I think I wrote a little short story with him in it, with him working at a charity shop. That was kind of cool. I got some little thumbnails for a doodle that's going to be on the next page. I ended up going for this one. There it is! Whoa, you just saw the thumbnail for that. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, bro. I like it still. Yeah, I like the lighting effect that I did. It's quite not fundamental, it's quite basic, but I like how it turned out. I think it looks good. It's Mika and a crush they had in their school who never actually really got a name, but it's when Mika's kind of psychosis starts to take root and they're just really questioning everything that they see. Woohoo. Dream SMP. Andy. Some chickens, yay! I like these chickens. I like the plumpness of this one. It looks like, you know chickens. They look plump. They look good. They look like chickens. This is a thumbnail for. I think I did digitally rather than physically, but I did that one in the end. Maybe I'll have the actual image somewhere if I find it anywhere. Whoa. This is some houses. And Percival, and a little sorry card because I feel very bad for him all the time. Woo! That's Leon and Ant and Vincent. They're in the same story. Vincent is very angry at Leon all the time. Leon seems a bit not very present at the time. Mum found me some fancy like watercolour markers at the car boot sale for very cheap, and so I was trying those out. I don't think I really ever used them much, but like I was saying, it's nice to get some cheap supplies and have a go with them and decide if you like them or not. Little doodles, Zandy, no, that's that one's Andy. We don't like Andy. A little flower that I pressed, and Keaton that I didn't like massively, so I didn't like the face I think, so I put a little thing over it, but I liked most of it, so I was like, okay, you can see this, but only just. And then this is the Star Fantasy doodles proper for the Spider song. That's, whoa, super exciting. Yeah, I've explained why already. I think it's kind of cool. I like the little sword fighting pose in different colours. I think that's a nice little touch. Okay. Some bees. I was doing a bee project at work. I think I'd started work properly at this time maybe. Where's this? 1 second. Where's the sketchbook run to? No, I didn't. I hadn't started work properly, but I think maybe I was thinking about it and they were mentioning bee projects, so I was drawing some bees just in case. This is from a book that we have called Skeleton in the Cupboard, and it fell out, so I stuck it in. And this is a drawing I didn't like, but I liked the cat, so I was like, ooh, look at this. I got this from, I think, a Berlin art museum that I went to. And I was like, oh, look at the cat. The cat's good, nothing else is. Spider song doodles. Some more of them. This one, that was defining the how the story ended up turning out. Whoa, that's kind of cool. We don't like Andy. He sucks. Everyone say we hate Andy, because we do. Some foxes. We like some foxes. Keaton, not comic back Keaton. I like this picture of Len. She skates, I guess. Super skilled skater girl. Whoa. And then I wrote some ideas down for like the, what's it called? Kind of warlock based magic system for the spider song. So the whole idea is you get different gods. Like you get the spider or the crow or the deer and things like that. And they sponsor people to be servants to them. So you get the servant to the crow, the servant to the spider, such and such. And in being a servant, you get different abilities. So servants to the god of death, which is the crow, are necromancers, and servants to the spider are illusionists and things like that. And I was just writing down all the ideas that I had for it. That's pretty cool. Bus ticket, so this was around October. I will probably blur out exactly where that is, but maybe you'll know. Whoa, I did a panda stamp. That's kind of cool. I think a new Cave Town music video had come out, and this bit kind of happened in the music video, and so I wanted to draw it. Here's Andy again. We don't like Andy, but I think someone on another sketchbook tour was doing like different colour pens for outlining, so I wanted to try that. I don't really like the effect anymore, but I remember being into it at the time. So it's cool to experiment. We like to experiment. I like this one of Mika. They have very cool jumpers and different mice. I can't remember the artist exactly, but the animator that I worked for suggested looking at an artist and practicing her style. The thing is, he doesn't like being a prince much, so, you know, we'll figure that out, I guess, in the story. I actually do fencing now. I drew this when I didn't do fencing. I do fencing now at my uni. This is an FA sword because they're not wearing a lame, but I think that's a good little whoosh. It came out quite well. The only bad thing is the back foot is not at an angle. When you're fencing, you should have the front foot facing forward, like this one is, and the back foot facing, like, at a right angle pretty much, which I don't really do here, but that's okay. We learn. I didn't like this page. I think I did some figure drawings on this page and I hated it, so I coloured it in with charcoal, but it's kind of effective, you know, it's got a vibe. Little Sam, we love Sam. That's Dolly. She's the final of the main cast of 4 from the Spider song. I was trying to figure out her outfit as well. I ended up going for something kind of like that. She's a necromancer, she's servant to the crow. She likes her god, which is a funky new change. And she is kind of the royal bodyguard. So the crown prince, which is Andy, she kind of protects him with her magic. They're kind of close friends, and so I wanted to tie in his colour scheme, which is kind of red, along to her. So the sash around her waist is red, just to kind of tie them together, you know. There's a bunch of kind of wing-based things over here. That's a kind of picture of me. It's not me, but it's kind of me. I fold little paper stars a lot, and I guess I was doing that at the time, so I wanted to draw something to represent that in various little bits. I think it was Hanukkah at the time. I'm not Jewish, but Leon is Jewish, so I was like, oh, I drew a little Hanukkah thing. I like this. I found a picture of a girl with some cats on a car, and so I drew it with limited colour, and I think it came out kind of cool. This person, I never actually I gave them a name, but I forgot what the name is. They were meant to be in the same story as Keaton, but I never actually wrote it, so I just kind of had them hanging around as like a cool prophet kind of thing. Whoa, whoa, super cool. There's a smiley face under here. Have a nice day. God damn, I will. I got gouache, I think for Christmas, or maybe my birthday. I got some gouache paints, and so I was having a go with them. This is kind of the leftover stuff. This was a waste of gouache, because you can reactivate gouache. It's a really weird, but really cool graphic novel. I love the art in it. It's super vivid and super cool. Highly recommend it. For just cool vibes. This is one that I tried to use a brush pen for again. It was Mika again, but I absolutely hated the result. Don't use this pen to shade. Noted. This is a house. I like how it looked, so I took a picture, then I drew it later. There's a song that the spider sings to its servants to try and draw them back to its little cult cave, and I wanted to try and represent that, and so that's the result I had. Whoa! They have green shoes now because they're meant to have green shoes. And there's Sam and Dolly hanging out, making some little flowers. She's a necromancer, so things around her just die sometimes, and I wanted to draw that, I guess. This is Cecil. He's really cool. He's a major spoiler. He's like a bookkeeper. He had been a necromancer before in the Spider Song, and then he was accused of murdering the royal family mostly and executed, but then he woke up again as a ghost in like several days walk away from where he grew up with no memories, and so he kind of hangs out and he's important to the plot. And this is me having a headache and being upset about it. His actual Cecil, this is the previous page was just his original designs, and then this is how he actually turned out in the end. But he's really cool. I like this. Actually, I don't. I remember liking it a lot. I don't like it as much as I did. That's kind of cool. Here he is realizing, oh shit, I was accused of murder, that kind of sucks. His eye is way too big, but I wanted to get the effect of, oh my god, my eye's gone really big. Some tiny little rats. I don't know who this is, but I like the vibe. And this is Anne and Leon hanging out. I wanted to draw more people interacting, so I tried drawing that. I found some inks, and so I drew some stuff with inks. This is Andy, we don't like Andy. And then I splotched the inks down on the page from really high up. I kind of do it at the end of every sketchbook that I have now. And this is the last page. Whoa! Me and my friend went on a walk, and so I drew us on a walk. She walked really fast and I was struggling to keep up. Little Atlas. Little Vincent, he's a mailman, so I gave him a bunch of stamps because I bought like 500 stamps off eBay for no reason. Except for the fact that now I have 500 stamps, I guess. And then there's Dolly and Andy hanging out and sleeping and interacting. And the final page is we don't love the world without reason. And that's the sketchbook. Well, hey, wahoo! This is sketchbook number 2. Oh, I'm not showing you sketchbook number 1 because it's very old. But maybe you'll see sketchbook 3, 4 and 5. We'll have to see. Yeah, I got it from my college because they were giving out sketchbooks for us to take notes in, but I already had notebooks, so I just use it as a sketchbook because it is a sketchbook. Yeah, thanks, I guess. Bye!